5 people have been killed after a Russian missile struck the eastern Ukrainian city of Slovyansk. Ukrainian officials confirmed that 21 people were also injured in the strike, which damaged 10 apartment buildings. It comes as Ukrainian troops are forced to withdraw from parts of Bakhmut as the battle for the city rages on. Well, I'm joined in the studio now by our military analyst, retired Air Vice Marshal Sean Bell. Hi again, Sean. Tell us more about this missile strike.
Overnight, the Russian attacks have continued, but particularly at Slovyansk. The Russian, just shown here, the Russian missiles attacked, hit flats, houses and cars. The casualty figures keep rising, so it's 9 killed so far, 21 injured. But when we see the pictures of some of the devastation, we fully expect those figures to increase. Now, it could be the Russians targeting the Bakhmut resupply routes, which run from Slovyansk. But actually, what looks increasingly likely from a military perspective is the Russians are looking beyond Bakhmut, what happens after Bakhmut. Slovyansk and Kramatorsk are the 2 probable targets further, which is all consistent with Russia's and Putin's special military operation, which is to seize the whole of the Donbass.
There are some wires coming to us saying that the Wagner Group is claiming to have taken more of Bakhmut. What is the latest there?
We seem to have been reporting about Bakhmut for ages, over 9 months now, the fierce fighting in Bakhmut, a grinding war of attrition which largely fell into a bit of a stalemate. But it does look like the Russian military and the Wagner military group are now working together rather than against each other. If you remember some time, the Bakhmut River, which was here, natural barrier, we had the Russians on the east, Ukrainians on the west. But actually, over the last few weeks, the Russians have gained momentum, they've gained a foothold and are now pushing further west and now seem to control about 3/4 of the city. It's also worth noting that 504, the road that runs down towards you, as a resupply route for Ukraine, but also it's their line of escape, is becoming increasingly under pressure. And it does look now, as you said, in the last 24 hours, even more advances. It's looking increasingly likely that Bakhmut will fall in the coming days or weeks and provide President Putin one of the rare successes on the battlefield. But this has been at a huge cost of casualties. Conservative estimates, at least 30,000 Russian casualties, and mass of Ukrainian casualties as well, plus devastation. If this was actually part of Putin's liberation of Ukraine, if you look at Bakhmut now and the devastation wreaked, it hardly looks like a city that's been liberated.
It appears as though President Putin is worried about resources and Russian forces on the ground. He's signed a bill, hasn't he, to stop people dodging military service?
He has. The Russians have had a real problem with troops, mainly because they keep using them in such a bad way. 20th century tactics just keep waves upon waves of people running at machine guns, which is not effective, highly attritional. They mobilised 300,000 at the tail end of last year, but they've consumed most of those. They desperately need more, and President Putin will judge that having another round of mobilisation almost certainly won't play well in Russian society. The Wagner military group under Yevgeny Prigozhin over the far side there has been effective, but with that effectiveness has been a rising in influence, and he's become a bit of a political threat now to Putin, so that's not the way forward. Russia has tried to get more volunteers involved, but those, it appears Russian society is not keen on joining. There's been less than 10% take-up on those positions. And as you say, Putin's been trying to tighten the loopholes about how you recruit people, because it used to be done where you had to hand the papers to people, so whenever they saw them coming down the path, they didn't open the front door or they kept out the way. Now it's being electronically handled so that people can't avoid them. And there's also, interestingly, Putin's looking to generate more private military companies, but this time under the direct control of the army. But all of this will generate more people. The challenge they've got is that you need experienced folks that are well trained. And unfortunately, what's evident at the moment is this lack of training means that people aren't following the law of armed conflict or the Geneva Convention that Putin has signed up to, and that's why we're seeing so many atrocities, things like the beheading. A real problem going forward for President Putin. He's struggling to generate the quantity of soldiers and absolutely failing to deliver the quality.